Welcome, everybody, to the Fairway Thanksgiving Day Parade. They said it couldn't be done, folks. They said it was all just pie in the sky. But Frank and his friends have taken Turkey Day to new heights. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Andrew Downs. It's time for Instant Iowa. Immediate analysis and reaction presented by Fairway Meat and Grocery. From the Channel Seed Studios, this is Iowa Everywhere.
And welcome to Instant Iowa pregame live here on Iowa Everywhere. We are getting ready for the Iowa-Nebraska game, and we are live at Buffalo Wild Wings on the campus of the University of Iowa. My name is Andrew Downs. With me is Ross Peterson. What's up, Ross?
Not much, man. Glad to be here. Glad to be back in Iowa City on a game day for the first time in a long time, man. This is it's nice to be here. I can feel that energy coming eastbound on I-80. You feel that speed pick up on traffic, and you feel that energy start to just grow and grow. It's awesome to be here, brother.
Yeah, as you pull into campus, and I mean, really, like, as people can see, the Buffalo Wild Wings we're in, it's a bit of a restaurant divided. We have a lot of Hawkeye fans, obviously, but we're getting like the "Go Big Red" chant.
It's going to be back and forth.
Hey, but this is what a rivalry is supposed to be, right?
I have never really experienced, and this is going to sound crazy, I've never really experienced the obnoxious Nebraska fan. I've always been around really good Nebraska fans, and it was funny because we pulled in here and one of my buddies was like, "Oh, Nebraska fans." I was like, "Oh, they're great people. What's wrong?
Come on, they're our neighbors."
Yeah. And then here they are. They're going to scream at us the whole day. But it's been fun. It's been a really fun day so far.
Yeah, it's exactly. Hey, what's up,
Corey?
Corey? Go Hawks. So we are here. Thank you to Buffalo Wild Wings. I believe we're being broadcast in Buffalo Wild Wings across the state right now.
Oh, really? Nice.
So what's up to everybody out there? We appreciate you being here with us. Thank you to Bud Light and Neutral. They've got a bunch of cool things for us here. We have giveaways out the yin-yang here at Buffalo Wild Wings in Iowa City. We have gift cards. We have free wings for a year.
Yeah.
We have a really cool cooler.
A Bud Light cooler.
A Bud Light cooler.
Yep.
Not just like one of your dad's old igloo cooler. This is like a really nice.
But did you see it?
Cooler.
It actually, it's a really cool cooler. It's really new. It's brand new, obviously, but it kind of has that like retro. Old cool Coleman look to it. Yeah, very cool.
And then we've also got tickets to today's game. And if you have tickets already, we can upgrade you because these are really good tickets.
I bet they are.
So we're gonna have raffle tickets going around here, and if you're joining us online or at a different Buffalo Wild Wings, we appreciate you being in on the fun. You know that Buffalo Wild Wings is the place you want to be to watch games, to watch this game, not just today, but always. Going to be a busy weekend at Buffalo Wild Wings across the state, man. What a fun weekend we have.
I was talking with the managers, not just here in Iowa City, but also the Des Moines managers about kind of what Saturdays are usually like. Well, obviously today's what game days are usually like. He said with this afternoon kickoff, like, man, that the play was really get here about like 11:30 noon, and then the place was not quite as packed. Obviously, when I got here about 4 o'clock, man, this place was absolutely hopping. I think you can see the line for beers behind us there. It's been a fun atmosphere. This is definitely the spot.
It is awesome. So I'm so happy to have you here with me, Ross. This is like the second show in a row we've done from a really cool place.
Yeah.
We did the post-game show Saturday after the win over Maryland from the 𝗙cie Casino in Las Vegas. And now 6 days later, we're here in Iowa City on the campus of the University of Iowa at Buffalo Wild Wings. This is awesome.
This is so great, man. Again, I because of previous duties, I was always doing kind of post-game shows in Des Moines. This is my first time being back here. I was able to bring my son to a Michigan game last year. But, man, being up here with my buddy Ed and being back here, you feel it. It's so great, man. Thank you for the invite again, my friend.
So I did want to talk to you about your first time in Kinnick in a while, right? I mean, and so have you been there since the new North End Zone has been built?
Yes. So I was getting last year for the Michigan game, the Connor Stallions game. I was here for that with my son, and we sat in the front row of the North End Zone. So I've been there. I've been, since the renovations, but it's a little bit different. I was in dad mode, and you know what that's like. I'm not in dad mode today. So I'm elated, man. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Oh, that's awesome. A night game at Kinnick Stadium, a November night game, Nebraska in town, and we have a big show coming up here. We're going to be on the air for another hour or so here, and we appreciate everybody being with us. I want to get kind of a big picture look at this game before we kind of dive into some of the minutia of the matchup and what we're looking forward to, what comes after this game, all of that. But I guess the headline thing is Jackson Stratton is QB1.
Yeah.
Even though Brendan Sullivan is back practicing, even though Marco Linus is apparently available in an emergency situation, and apparently Caden McNamara is back practicing, there was no hesitation from Kirk Ferentz this Tuesday at his media conference. Jackson Stratton is our guy, and barring an injury, he will play every snap of this game.
Now, that verbiage, that tone, that's what we've heard from Kirk Ferentz in the midst of major quarterback controversies.
Yeah.
Man, when he's got a guy, he's at least going to present to all of us that he absolutely believes in this guy, and he believes that that's his best chance in that entire quarterback room. We saw Jackson Stratton last week. He didn't turn the car into the ditch. He didn't have those big turnovers. He got the ball into the hands of the guys he needed to get the ball in the hands, and the offense looked good. What does that mean for the quarterback room going forward? I don't know, and I don't think I want to extrapolate too much. I'm not going to take Kirk Ferentz doing that coach speak thing and say, well, obviously Jackson Stratton's the man now. I hope that we get a performance like we did last week. I don't expect a whole lot more, to be honest with you.
You probably don't need a whole lot more, and that's kind of the good thing. And you have a confident kid in Jackson Stratton who's only started one game, only played in 2 games, really wasn't even an option until just a couple of weeks ago, and yet he feels like he's quarterback one. Now, you want that swagger in a guy, right? You see that in this young kid.
You know, Andrew, that's funny. That is something that football guys talk about, is that look, that feel, that swag that quarterback one has to have. If you're going to be the true leader of a team, what that has to look like, not necessarily just on the field and in production, what that feels like again. And I think there is something to that. It's too early to say that this kid has that thing and that he's the guy.
Yes.
But I do like the fact that Tim Lester went out and this was the guy that he wanted to have.
Absolutely.
And now I think that's part of what this decision has been. Love Brendan Sullivan, but if there's any sort of injury and we can go with a guy that's 100%, let's do that.
Yeah. So Jackson Stratton is our starter. Expectations for him, I guess, are pretty low, right?
Yes.
I mean, and again, hopefully he doesn't need to do a whole lot. Hopefully it's like the game against Maryland where he can hit a couple of throws, maybe find those tight ends a little bit, but really let Caleb Johnson and the offensive line do what they do.
Yes.
Let the defense do what it does. Let the special teams be elite. And if those 3 phases are doing what they're supposed to do, Jackson Stratton doesn't need to do a whole lot.
Just nailed it in that order, Andrew, especially offensively for Jackson Stratton. What are my expectations was your first question here. My expectations for Jackson Stratton are to be around 100 yards at the end of this game. Let's hope that he's in that 70%, 60 to 70% completion percentage, 0 interceptions.
Yes.
And if there's a touchdown in there, that's going to be good news. But that's a great spot to be in, that's your expectation.
It is.
For Jackson Stratton,
yes,
not for us as Hawkeye fans. For Jackson Stratton, that's a great spot to be in.
We're still working things out at the quarterback situation as a program. That's for sure.
We're in the long play there. Yeah.
But it does feel like it's going in the right direction, right? I think what you mentioned with Tim Lester, I think what we've seen this year is the 2 quarterbacks who have played the best have both been Tim Lester guys.
True.
Guys he went out and got, whether it be in the portal through Brendan Sullivan or a walk-on in Jackson Stratton who had been at Colorado State. You see guys that, this is a quarterback, right, in Tim Lester. And he knows what he wants in that position, which is something that Iowa hasn't had in a while.
You're a Bears fan. I'm preaching to the choir when I talk about you got to have a bunch of people on the same page.
Yes.
The head coach, the offensive coordinator, the quarterback. In the NFL, you got to have the general manager, and all of them have to be on the same page. And that's part of what I think you're talking about here is when you've seen those 2 quarterbacks be the most productive, they're on the same page as the offensive coordinator, and he brought them in because he saw in their skill set what he could maximize with this offense.
We had a Brian Ferentz offense that guys were saying it took 2 years to even wrap your head around, and now we've got a Jackson Stratton starting who hasn't played for more than 2 weeks. And I mean, it's the juxtaposition is just huge.
I was having a good Thanksgiving, and then you had to mention that.
BF.
Thanks. It's been a good couple days.
Obviously, Caleb Johnson is going to be a huge part of this game. If I was going to do anything, it's going to be on his back. Not just him, 𝗙𝗏 Moulton, Jazz Patterson, this entire the complement of running backs they have are going to be big. But Caleb Johnson is the workhorse. He's the Doak Walker finalist. He's the guy who's got to put this team on his back and kind of have a big game. Whether or not that happens early or it happens late and they kind of wear them down and he starts breaking runs later, and Andrew, it's got to be him.
Remember, that's kind of, you look at those early, first half of the season really, that's what it was. It was wearing teams down, and then late in the game you'd get those big busts and you'd see him start to inch into it, and you'd feel it coming, and then you'd get those big runs. It's all about that offensive line, man. That's why I love the way that you broke it down there, and I know we're going to get to defense eventually too. That offensive line has their work cut out for them today with a really tough Nebraska front, but that's what's going to determine whether or not this running game is able to get off the ground and go. And I completely agree. It might be Moulton also, and maybe even Patterson that have to get involved to keep that running game going, because you're just not going to rely too much on Jackson Stratton. So you're going to have to get all those running backs from that stable going.
And we saw from 𝗙𝗏 Moulton last week what his kind of change of pace can do. And we saw the faith Kirk Ferentz put in him after that first quarter fumble to keep going to him, and he broke that big one late in the game against Maryland. Let's get to that defense. Obviously a huge part of this game, a huge part of this program. I'm a little worried about Dana Holgorsen, right? He's a guy who's been brought in the last 3 weeks as Nebraska's offensive coordinator. Not a lot of tape on him. They looked very good against Wisconsin. Now everybody looks good against Wisconsin because Wisconsin sucks. But this is an offense that's slightly different than it was even a month ago, and that presents some issues. Now there's nobody I'd rather have dealing with those issues than Phil Parker.
That's it. The Iowa defense is not going to change based on the opponent or what offensive coordinator is calling the plays. That Iowa defense is going to do what that Iowa defense does. They're going to play a base defense. They're going to try to lock you down. They're going to focus on the run first. That's absolutely what I anticipate. Now, that being said, you know what they're going to do. It's a very predictable defense. Teams just have a really hard time trying to coach around that. And I anticipate that to be a little bit more of a rock fight when Nebraska has the ball. I mean, the Hawkeye defense has been prone to giving up big plays this year, and they're going to be shooting for that.
And no Jamari Harris again, so you've got some issues at corner.
So
now Deshaun Lee and TJ Hall played very well against Maryland.
They've done a great job.
That's probably TJ Hall's best game as a Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So you have a little faith in there, but you also remember that 2 years ago here in 𝗀𝗃 Stadium, Cooper DeJean got injured in the first quarter, and it was like, okay, we might as well go home. Yeah. This game is not going well. Nebraska goes downfield several times.
He was our best offensive player that year.
And he didn't even play offense. And so it's going to be interesting. And then will Phil Parker bring some pressure? Because that's worked against Raiola. Raiola's he's a big-time recruit and has had some good games. But he's also had some games where he's looked like a freshman. And he can get rattled in 𝗀𝗃 Stadium at night in the cold. And if you're able to get to him, that's where teams have had success. Is that offensive line for Nebraska not great. They don't run the ball well, and they don't protect him that well.
That's why I think that I don't think that this Iowa defense is going to necessarily be able to tee off on this Nebraska offense, thing like that. But I do think it's going to be tough sledding because of that. That front is tough for this Hawkeye team. And the more pressure you can apply, the more you're going to get the ball in the air, and then you can get some of those ball hawks like Hall to make some big plays. And that's got to be what Parker's focus is. Again, focus on that run. Get to that line. Get pressure on the quarterback. Make him make those mistakes. And by the way, that's something that Matt Rule has done a fantastic job of. That you could depend on Nebraska quarterbacks making big mistakes with Scott Frost as their coach. And Matt Rule came in, and it does seem like that has calmed down a lot.
There's definitely a different demeanor within that program under Matt Rule. And I think it's the demeanor they've needed for a while.
Dude,
they feel like a program on the rise. And I'm not gonna say anything dumb like they're gonna win a national championship in a couple of years, but they're in a much better situation than they were under Scott Frost.
Absolutely. I don't know that you could disagree with that, Andrew. I think that is one of those classic cliches or examples of top down. When the CEO has an attitude about something, everybody underneath them will react the same way. The Hawkeye football team has, there have been some hiccups and issues, absolutely, but for the most part, that program has carried itself a certain way for 20 plus years because of Kirk Ferentz. Look at the Hawkeye men's basketball team. Top down, that attitude and those little things will permeate their way all the way through.
Isn't that interesting?
And I think that's what you're seeing with Matt Rule is he's coming in and trying to change that all from one position at the top, and it takes time. But you're seeing the effects of it.
I do think he's doing a nice job. The last phase I want to touch on here before we kind of dig into some other things is special teams has been so huge in this series over the last several years. We're going to go through a little bit later what the last 6 games between these two teams have been like, because they've all been one possession games. 3 of Iowa's 5 wins have been by a last second or very, very close to last second field goal. Everybody remembers the blocked punt by Iowa against Nebraska, and Scott Frost even said after the game, we knew we were going to lose. They were still up by 5, right? Special teams are huge in these games. Nebraska's had some blocked kicks. That's been a phase where, as you said, from CEO down, Kirk Ferentz has made that a priority for this program for 25 years, and it has won Iowa games. It has not been a priority within Nebraska's program, and they have lost games because of it.
Yes.
It's going to be a big factor in tonight's game.
I still think that maybe this is my Hawkeye glasses shining, but man, I feel like the Hawkeyes do have the advantage in that special teams category. Weejan's so fun, and he is that guy that is on that verge of making that big break play. Every time he touches the ball, you feel it. You go, oh man, he's one wiggle, he's one spin move away from getting loose and breaking it. So but that's not what we're talking about. In these games, we're not talking about talent or who's got the best returner or the best punter. That's not it. It's always this weird, it's not even X factor, it's like Z factor, right? There's always this odd element that plays into this that I anticipate we'll see again, because this is going to be a close game.
I'm Andrew Downs. He's Ross Peterson. If you're just joining us, we are live at the Buffalo Wild Wings in downtown Iowa City, right on the campus of the University of Iowa, at the old Capitol Town Center. We used to call it the old Capitol Mall. I used to park over here and go to classes.
What else did you used to do in this area, Andrew?
No comment, Ross. No comment.
Okay. I can guess. Can I guess?
Yeah.
Not out loud.
I used to drink a lot of Bud Light.
Okay.
And that's what people are going to do tonight. We got great specials on Bud Light and Neutral. We have really cool raffle giveaways. So if you're in the restaurant and you're hearing me, sign up for these giveaways, because somebody's walking out of here with upgraded tickets. Somebody's walking out of here with free wings for a year. Somebody's walking out of here. I guess 4 people are walking out of here with free wings for a year.
Yeah, we have 4 things of wings for a year with gift certificates. The really cool cooler. Somebody's getting the ticket upgrade. The Bud Light. Everybody that's listening, everybody across the state can take advantage. I believe, or I should say, I know for sure in the Des Moines locations and here in Eastern Iowa, $5 Bud Lights through March.
Nice. That's awesome. So we appreciate you being here with us. Iowa everywhere. I will be back as soon as the game is over with Chris Hassel on Instant Iowa.
Okay.
So we're going to do our regular post-game show. Hassel and I haven't done a show together in like 3 weeks.
Is Hassel going to be here?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm going. Right. Yeah, he's in Florida.
I was almost starstruck for a second.
Exactly. Some keys to the game here for Iowa. Obviously, we just talked about some of these things, but I think get Caleb Johnson going early and often. And again, even if you're not seeing big gains early on,
there you go.
Keep pounding that rock, right? Keep wearing that team down and hope that, because I was listening to a Nebraska podcast on my way here. They were saying the way Iowa beats you is you stop them 50 times, but the 51st time, Caleb Johnson finds that little wiggle room, and he's gone, and that's the difference
yards.
in the game.
Yeah, and you've been holding them inside their territory all game. That's exactly it. So I like that, Andrew. You're right. It's not necessarily get big plays early and often. It's stick with him early and often. And again, you have to, because you can't hand this game off to your quarterback.
Right. Yes.
So even in a situation where Caleb Johnson can't get out of the mud, or we have some sort of injury early on, it's got to be running back one that has to have a good game and has to get going, and you've got to really, as you say, pound the rock. And every now and again, when it's open, Jackson Stratton's going to have to take advantage of it to then keep that defense honest. It's a tough game.
One of the good things I liked about Jackson Stratton last week was you could tell they had a little more faith in his arm than they do in a lot of young quarterbacks that they throw out there. It wasn't all dump-off passes. Now, he didn't have a huge game, only completed a handful of passes that didn't even have 100 yards, but they weren't limiting him to just across the middle or screen plays. They were letting him throw some deep outs. They were letting him go through his progressions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And so I like that. You can't expect a perfect game from Jackson Stratton here tonight, but you have to eliminate a major mistake.
Exactly.
Can't have a pick six. Can't have a sack fumble on your own 20. He could throw an interception, and he probably will, right? He can make mistakes. He probably will. He can't make the big mistake, the killer mistake, because, again, Iowa probably doesn't have the firepower to come back from a big mistake like that.
No, I think you're right. A couple of interceptions can kill you. Interceptions in the wrong part of the field or at the wrong time of the game when momentum is really mattering. That's Owen Justice.
Hey! Yeah. He's a famous singer.
Yes, he is, waving at us. He thinks we're famous.
Right?
That was through the looking glass there, wasn't it? So this is, it's a tough one, Andrew, because you are hamstrung a little bit with the Jackson Stratton thing. You really are.
Yeah.
So you just can't turn too much towards him at all.
What if he's the guy? What if he's like, what if this is the game?
Then
what does that look like? I mean, like, what would he have to do tonight for you to be like, screw Brendan Sullivan?
Well, not much. I mean, I'm nothing against Sullivan, but honestly, the production, we're so used to this as Hawkeye fans. We're so used to, well, if he goes for 120 yards.
Right.
What do I have to see tonight, man? It's more than just the stat line. We can come up with some stats, but I think that it's more than that. I think that, Andrew, there's like a playmaking ability. I want to see that moxie that you talked about early on. I want to see a QB1. That's hard for a kid that's in your first couple of months in a locker room still. It's very hard to do when you've got that sort of established culture that we were talking about earlier with Kirk Ferentz. That's difficult. What do I need to see from him? I'm going to need to see... How about this? It's very specific things. When pressure gets to him, keep plays alive.
Yeah.
Get loose.
Yes. And doesn't have to run the ball, doesn't have to be it, but
get loose, keep a play alive. Even if that means getting rid of a dump off and throwing the ball out of bounds or something like that. I want to see something like that extends the life of a play a little bit. Obviously, like you said, you have to avoid those big mistakes. That should have been the first thing. If you don't avoid those big mistakes, nothing else is going to matter. Statistically, if he goes for over 200 yards today, I'm going to be really impressed.
Yeah.
He gets to 150, and that means that you're going to have some plays in there that were nice plays. So
I've got some over-unders a little later, and 150 is not on the...
That's why I say that's
no, exactly,
in the sky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because, if he comes out and, like, leads this offense in a way that we haven't seen in a while, that'd be really something. Okay. Defensively, just no big plays, right? Keep everything in front of you. You don't have to shut down Nebraska completely. You don't have to have a pick six or a bunch of big plays. Don't allow the big play. Don't let a guy get past you. It's been a few weeks since they've allowed one of those, Ross, but it was so bad in the first couple of games that I think that still sticks in all of our minds. Like, this team is susceptible to that double move and get past him. And if Raiola can make that throw,
even the bend, don't break thing has not, there's been a few games where it's been too much bend.
Yes.
And, if the offense can't get the ball going, then you can't bend at all. Then there can be no field goals because a field goal is going to be enough to to make a big difference. So, boy, Andrew, what does that mean? What do you have to get from this defense today?
Just play like themselves at home, right? Like, don't play the way they did at Michigan State or at UCLA. Make the tackles. they've always been in good position. It falls apart when they don't make the first tackle.
That's a good point, right? You can't, don't miss tackles. Got to be good in the open field. Have to be really good on third down. You have to get this offense off the field. Wonder how much time of possession. I mean, this does feel like one of those games where turnovers are going to matter most. Yes. And that's why, so like, what's one of the jobs for this Hawkeye defense? I hate to say this, but man, if you can get a turnover, boys, if you can go get the football for us, that would help out a lot.
Absolutely. And Raiola's the type of quarterback who will give you a chance for that.
And again, they're going to get pressure. They're going to be putting them in positions to throw the ball. They're going to want to throw the ball to try to get those big plays. There's going to be that potential for it.
And then, I mean, like flawless special teams, which again is asking a lot, but I do think it's going to. We see it probably more often than not. But no missed kicks. Drew Stevens had a really bad game a year ago on Black Friday, if you remember. 2 blocked field goals.
I don't remember anything about last.
Oh, good, because we got something coming up where it'll tell us.
Good.
He kicked 2 balls out of bounds. Remember, he was like completely in his head. That's why a kicker that nobody had ever heard of came in for the game-winning field goal at the end of the game, which again we'll get to. But
I forgot about some of those things. I really did.
He completely fell apart. So, but you need him to be solid. You need Weech, and again, not to break one, but to have nice returns, put you in good spots, not fumble the ball.
And just kind of put that fear in. That's a big part of it.
Exactly.
Right?
And then Reese Dakin just needs to kind of do what he's been doing, which is incredibly, somehow, picking up where Tory Taylor left off. It's crazy how good this kid is.
All he has to do is keep dropping punts inside the 5-yard line that land like a pitching wedge.
Should we do a giveaway for a gift card and some wings here? I think we have some.
We do have some names in here. Holy cow! Yeah, the bucket's been filling up.
Let's draw 2 names.
Right. I just saw a name, so I don't want to do that. You're gonna have to draw.
We're gonna draw 2 names for a gift card and free wings for a year.
So what? First person's gonna get free wings for a year?
No. Each person's gonna get each thing.
You're gonna get a $50 gift card and free wings for a year.
Right.
Oh
yes,
man.
That's right. All right, so we got 2 names.
Okay. All right.
Lance Sorensen and Andy Keller.
Congratulations to Lance Sorensen.
Lance and Andy.
And make sure you're signing up for. We have a lot more giveaways.
He's a Hawkeye fan. Oh no, it's not.
We have a lot more giveaways to give away, so make sure that you guys are signing up.
Maybe just set those right out here.
I know that she was walking around getting people to sign up. So, got more things to give away, but wings for a year and a $50 gift card.
And the wings for a year are good at any of the Iowa and Nebraska locations. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you to Buffalo Wild Wings for making this possible. We're doing this. This is our first ever on location, like live pregame broadcast on Iowa everywhere. So this is cool.
That's my favorite thing to do, and it used to drive Williams insane.
Yeah, take your headset off and talk to a guy.
It's my favorite thing to do. But yeah, we do have people walking around, so that he was just wondering how to sign up for stuff.
These things here. So yeah, Buffalo Wild Wings all weekend long. Every Buffalo Wild Wings is going to have really cool specials. Ross, we cheered some wings before we went on the air, and you had an experience here that you probably wouldn't have had on your own.
So I've been to Buffalo Wild Wings like everybody, man. I mean, I've been to Buffalo Wild Wings a million times.
I've tried everything they have. I'm
an adventurous eater.
But you had your go-tos, right?
Yeah, and curry is something that I've never had a curry that I was like, oh.
So you see it on the menu and you just
go
move
right past it.
Yeah.
Right past it. So they brought us the Thai curry wings, and I was like, you know what? What the H?
When in Rome, right?
When in Rome. Dude, they are amazing. They are my new favorite wing at Buffalo Wild Wings. They're like spicy. I'm really getting into like hot and spicy stuff, but they had a really good curry flavor to them. Thai curry for the win, man. What did you have? Did you have just like mild or something?
Yeah, mild buffalo, yep. So, yeah, good. Nice and good. Kept my mouth able to talk here this whole time. All right. What's on the line today for Iowa? Let's talk about this a little bit because it's not a lot. It's not what we had hoped.
Yeah.
I think we've been hoping for a while that this Heroes game, this rivalry game, border war game, would be for like something major, right? The winner goes to the Big Ten championship game. The winner
goes to the college
stays
football
in the college
playoff.
football playoff,
Yeah,
right? Honestly, the loser doesn't go to a bowl game. And none of that is on the table right now, thanks to Wisconsin crapping the bed against Nebraska last week. These damn Badgers. So, like, what is tangibly on the line? There's very little tangible that's on the line here.
You're playing for a spot in bowl games?
Yeah.
I mean,
according to Scott Dochterman, on Legends and Listeners here on Iowa Everywhere, he said, likely if Iowa wins, they're going to the ReliaQuest Bowl, which used to be the Outback Bowl.
Tampa,
going to Tampa January 1st against an SEC team.
Been there.
A loss probably knocks you down to the Music City Bowl in Nashville, like December 30th or so, also against an SEC team. But again, with how little bowls matter all that anymore, I'm not even sure there's a huge difference between those two.
You never want your team to lose a football game, and it's better to go someplace warmer than not if you're choosing between locations. So go win this football. But Andrew, this is always a fan conversation of what do the guys have to play for in the locker room. It's a fan conversation because for the most part, those guys that are in the locker room, man, it's about competition and pride.
Yep.
And the guys that are sophomores and juniors, they're playing for next year, and they're still auditioning to make sure that guys don't come in from the transfer portal and try to steal their job.
That's a really good point.
Or prove that they are the right man for that position. So for us fans, what does this game mean today? It means pride here in the bar.
Absolutely.
Right? We have a lot of... Nebraska is probably the most represented non-Iowa school in the state of Iowa.
I think you're right.
So for a lot of offices around the state of Iowa, this is second tier to the Iowa State game as far as like rivalry and importance. You're playing for that sort of pride.
Yeah.
You are, in this new Big Ten. I keep saying this. There is going to be, just like we saw when Nebraska came in, there's going to take a couple of years to sift out this new power dynamic.
What's the hierarchy?
Yeah, and you want to be as high in that as you possibly can. Now, Nebraska and Iowa are going to be in that, when this thing settles out, they're going to be both in that kind of middle tier, but in that upper middle tier.
Yes.
And ideally, for us Hawkeye fans, wins like tonight would matter and will matter going forward. Now,
I mean, 8 wins versus 7 wins is a big deal.
And getting a bowl win, then you have a 9-win season.
Yeah.
So
5 versus 6 in Big Ten. I mean, 5 and 4 in the Big Ten is a bad season for Iowa, especially for an Iowa team with the schedule they had this year and the pedigree they had coming into the season. 6 and 3, not a whole lot better, but feels a little bit better. Plus, you go into this next month and really into the off season because bowls have become more of an extension of next season than an extension of this season.
Look what the Hawks have been through, like even last year. Yeah.
Exactly. They played Tennessee's team this year,
right?
Or a lot closer than last year. You have the transfer portal opens up like next week, so you go into the offseason on a win versus on a loss. Especially for the fan base, I think that's a big thing, and probably even for recruiting and transfer portal stuff also.
All good points. The recruiting thing is something, we were lucky enough to get to know Chuck Long when we were working on the radio, right? And Chuck was one of those guys that used to, because of his time recruiting for Oklahoma and other schools, he would always talk about that momentum in the off season and how that last taste in your mouth when you go get on the bus or get on the plane or go home, man, that thing lingers.
Yes.
So what I think, Andrew, is with the new bowl system, with the college football playoff, everybody is recognizing that the bowl games mean less and less and less. I think that this game carries that weight, or is starting to carry some of that weight of that kind of last game of the season. What are the chances that Caleb Johnson's going to be playing in a bowl game?
Very low.
Probably low.
Yeah, very low.
I mean, remember last year it was the third-string quarterback that was starting for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
After a year of quarterback debacle and fighting, it was the third-string kid that was out there taking the snaps against Tennessee.
It's such an interesting thing because I've already moved into the fact that we don't know what next year's team is going to look like or what the league is going to look like next year. I mean, look at Washington this year, right?
Yes.
Go from
great point.
national championship game to a terrible team. But you're right. This next month between the final game and the bowl game is going to have that kind of a shuffle to it, and I really haven't moved into that space in my head.
I think it's going to take us a while. I think, and maybe it'll happen quicker than I'm anticipating, but next 2 or 3 years, we will start looking at this game as that thing.
Yes.
That final, again, let's hope that in the next couple of years, we're actually talking about a college football playoff. And as Hawkeye fans, that should absolutely be our expectations. And for Nebraska fans in this bar, quite honestly, their expectation should be every couple of years we need to be in that conversation.
Yes.
So,
do you think I posed this question on Murph and Andy this week because it appears that the Big Ten is going to get 4 spots in the college football playoff. The Big 12 is going to get 1. Let's assume that that's kind of the case year in and year out on average. Are you better off in the Big Ten where
no,
you're in a much tougher league? You're going to have a much tougher schedule, but you don't have to win the whole damn thing.
Yeah. You know, that's
the Big 12, you have to win everything. You can go 12-0, and if you lose that championship game, there's a chance you're left out of the playoff.
And if things continue to move the direction they are, that could definitely be a case, Andrew. You know, let's break this down because I'd much rather be in the Big Ten for the money, for all of this stuff, for the games that we get to see here at Kinnick Stadium, for the teams that we get to see. We saw this with our friends up in Ames, quite frankly. You know, when Cincinnati comes to town, it doesn't exactly light the candle.
Right.
When Nebraska shows up, dude, you feel it. 60 miles outside of town, you feel it. So that stuff matters. The geography matters in college sports, and we're seeing this play out now. So I'd rather be in the Big Ten so that you've got these great games, and but your question is, Iowa or Iowa? If your question is,
who has a better chance year in and year out?
Iowa State does. Iowa State,
so?
Yes, just because, Andrew, of that hierarchy that we were talking about. You've brought in so much talent into this Big Ten. And perennially, when you've got powerhouses like Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan obviously is down, and we'll see what happens with that program.
Right.
Things change.
Yes.
Things can change.
Yeah, it's cyclical.
Yep. I think that right now you're in a better position if you have to beat the Cincinnatis of the world than have to beat the Ohio States of the world.
You know, I had a tweet a couple of weeks ago. Go Hawks! I had a tweet a couple of weeks ago. It's like essentially the Big Ten is 4 really good teams and then the Big 12. And Big 12 fans didn't love it, but tell me I'm wrong.
But that's
Tell
true.
me I'm wrong.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You're telling me that Northwestern and Cincinnati
right, exactly.
That's
yes.
good.
It's interesting. All right, let's see here. We are at Buffalo Wild Wings on the campus of the University of Iowa. We're, about an hour and 20 minutes from kickoff over at Kinnick Stadium, maybe closer to an hour and 30 minutes.
I don't have a clock in front of me. I don't even know what time it is right now.
It's 5:07.
Okay.
So, yeah, probably about a 6:40 kickoff by the time everything gets going. It's going to be a fun game. Should be another close game. Maybe we should do that right now. Let's go through some of these games the last 6 seasons.
Okay.
Because they've been
insane.
I think we know kind of, hey, these have been good games, right? And they've been close more than they haven't. I'm not sure we remember kind of everything that's happened in some of these. And I'm not going to go through all of them in crazy detail, but you remember in 2018, Iowa won 31-28. That was a Miguel Racinos late field goal
Holy cow.
to win the game.
Okay.
You can see Nebraska. That was the one where Iowa had the 21-13 lead at half, 28-13 after 3. Nebraska scored 15 points in the fourth quarter to tie the game, and Miguel Racinos kicked the game-winning field goal late in that game. That was Iowa's 3rd win in a row in this series because they really kicked their butt. The 2 games before that.
I'm being a smartass. I just remember how good Nebraska was going to be next year.
Every year.
During that stretch especially. It was like, oh.
Every year. The 2019 game is one that we'll never forget. That's the Keith Duncan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's the Keith Duncan field goal.
That's the.
You're fine. I don't do that stuff.
That's this game.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Here, I even have the photo.
There it is.
Keith Duncan, blow the kiss. to Scott Frost, and that was, a 27-24 win for the Hawkeyes. That was in Nebraska.
Another one that the Hawkeyes almost let slip away.
Yeah, exactly. Up 24-10 at halftime. Gave up 14 unanswered in the third, and then the only point scored in that fourth quarter was the Keith Duncan field goal. Just let that sit there for a second. How you like that, Nebraska fans? 2020, another wild game. This was Adrian Martinez had the ball late in the game. They were driving, and he had a late fumble.
Yes.
Secure the win for Iowa, 26-20. The funniest thing about this is the records under the names here. Nebraska's 1-4.
Oh, that's right.
Iowa's 4-2.
That's 2020.
The 2020 COVID season. But again, another kind of very close game. Could have gone either way. And the bottom line is, in these games that have been close and could go either way, far more often than not, Iowa makes the play, doesn't make the mistake, finds the way to win, where Nebraska has found ways to lose. Let's move ahead to 2021. That was a 28-21 win over by the Hawkeyes, and this is the one that we talked about earlier, the blocked punt, and Scott Frost kind of threw in the towel right then. There was the safety after that, and then a field goal, I think, to tie it, and then finally a touchdown to win that game. 22 unanswered points for Iowa, including that block punt. Nebraska just fell apart in that game.
I remember that one. I remember well.
That was a lot of fun. 2022, not as fun for Hawkeye fans. That was the last time they were here in Kinnick Stadium. That was a 24-17 win by Nebraska. Again, Cooper DeJean got hurt on the first couple of plays of the game and just got torched. Iowa's defense just got torched, but able to come back late, score 10 late points, and get close. Padilla played a lot in that game. Alex Padilla, if you remember that name.
No, absolutely, yeah.
Iowa came back, but couldn't close in that game.
He finally got a chance. He, again, added that little spark that we saw.
And then the 2023 game a year ago, this is the one where was just really, really wild. And earlier today on Murph and Andy, my buddy Andy Fales laid out all of the kind of crazy things that happened in this game. We're going to let Andy take this away because he's a better orator than either of us.
Let's go over line by line some of the absolutely bonkers happenings in last year's Hawk-Husker game.
The teams combined for 14 punts. Drew Stevens had 2 field goals blocked. Okay, this is Drew Stevens, who is he the special teams player of the week right now?
Yeah, it was 5 for 5 last week, including 2 field goals beyond 50 yards.
And I think he kicked 2 kickoffs out of bounds in this game last year.
Yes,
it was like something had really gotten into his head. It was really a worry.
Like
he
Kirk
had the
Ferentz was like calling a counselor down to the
it
sidelines.
It comes down to
Drew
who
Stevens.
wants it less.
Yeah. So Nebraska's kicker isn't much better. He misses a field goal that goes like 20 yards wide left. It looked like he went in and tried to kick a field goal in the through the goalpost of the practice field next door.
Just a bit outside.
It was so far. Deacon Hill. All right, you want to feel better about Iowa's quarterback situation right now?
Yes.
Go watch this game again. Deacon Hill is so bad. He's 11 of 28 with an interception and 0 touchdowns. 𝗙𝗶𝗶 was too. 2 horrible fumbles and an interception. Caleb Brown, not even on the team anymore. Colossal flop.
Pulled the ripcord at midseason.
He led all Iowa receivers with 3 catches for 21 yards.
Oh, man.
Dropped the touchdown pass that went right through his hands. Iowa's best offensive play, or the most effective, consistent offensive play, is the quarterback sneak for a 6-inch gain, where Deacon Hill, with his, offensive tackle body, takes the snap and just immediately goes forward, and then somebody starts pushing his butt, and they move it 6 inches. They get several first downs that way. So it's tied at 10 with 33 seconds left in the game. And here's how it goes down. Deacon Hill throws a bad interception, and Nebraska gets a good return out of it to put themselves in good position at the Iowa 37. But wait, there's a flag on the play.
Forgot about
Nebraska
the flag.
holding during the return, so the ball goes back to their side of midfield. They would have had it on the 37-yard line, close to field goal range, could have won the game, but they screwed that up, and they committed a holding back other side of midfield. Okay, so Nebraska, at this point, they got to throw, which 𝗙𝗹𝗹𝗿𝗆 does. He throws one of the worst interceptions. Now, his brother threw a really bad interception. Who was that, Texas Tech, TCU?
When he threw it straight up in the air.
Yeah.
Out
But
of
he's getting
desperation.
tackled at the time.
Yeah.
It's out of desperation. No, 𝗙𝗹𝗹𝗿𝗆's got time. He's got both feet planted. He's looking downfield. He's surveying the scene.
It's a key spot.
Sees a guy wide open. Throws it to him. Oh, yeah. Sorry. There's an Iowa defender directly between him and the intended receiver. It goes right to the Hawkeye. Intercepts it. It is so bad. Iowa returns it to the Nebraska 37 with 14 seconds left, right? This is an offense that cannot move the ball. They couldn't do anything with the ball. And they can't kick a field goal. They can't rely on Drew Stevens that day. He's having an off day. They can't do anything with the ball. They got the ball at 30 on the Nebraska 37 with 14 seconds left. So even in that situation, after their quarterback just shit the bed, the Nebraska fans in the stands still feel like, I think we're going to overtime here. All right, they're feeling pretty good. But wait, that doesn't happen because LaShawn Williams snaps off the biggest run of the game, takes it all the way down to the Nebraska 15-yard line. But even then, the Nebraska fans are thinking there's still hope.
Yeah,
because
Iowa can't kick a field goal.
Drew Stevens can't kick a field goal. He's had 2 field goals blocked today, and though at least one of them was a short field goal, the other one was modest. So he's not doing well. So Kirk Ferentz, the king of I am sticking with my man through thick and thin, this guy hasn't subbed out a quarterback in 5 years, right? He goes to his bench and brings some guy named Marshall Metter in.
Not Marshall Mathers.
No, we don't even realize that Iowa's got a backup kicker, right? Everybody knows that Iowa's got 3 backup quarterbacks, but they ain't playing. They have a backup kicker, and he is playing. He comes in and attempts a 38-yard field goal, which is possible only because LaShawn Williams has taken the ball down to the 15-yard line. Deacon Hill has followed it up with an 18-inch run to the left to plant the ball between the hash marks. Marshall Metter comes in, attempts a 38-yard field goal, kicks it exactly 39 yards, and Iowa wins.
Tory Taylor to hold, and Marshall Meter trying to get out of town with a Hawkeye victory. Here's the snap. The kick is on the way, and it is good! Good! Marshall Meter. The ball bounced back to Tory Taylor. It bounced right into his hands. He put it down, and Marshall Meter got about 3/4 leg strength into it, and it just barely crawled over the crossbar.
Yes, thank you, Dolph. Yeah, for filling in the rest. Yeah, Marshall Meter. Okay, I didn't even one more D, one fewer E's. Yeah, Marshall Meter. Or, I'm sorry, one more E, one fewer D's. Marshall Meter.
Call him M&M.
Yeah, they screw up the snap. He almost doesn't even get the kickoff, but he gets it to go through. And just like that, Lucy pulls the football away from Charlie Brown once again, and Marshall Meter gets to run over and hoist the Heroes Trophy in Nebraska.
What an awesome recap of that game. What a crazy game that was.
Andrew, when I said I forgot a lot about what happened, I had forgot several of those things. I will tell our Nebraska fans that are still here, I know they're getting ready to head out, don't worry, because Marshall Meter or Marshall Metter, you won't see that guy.
Yeah, nope. I don't even think he's on the team anymore.
I don't even know.
He may be here drinking.
I don't know.
He might be here drinking.
Marshall, if you're here, we haven't no.
We are live at Buffalo Wild Wings on the Iowa campus here at the University of Iowa in Iowa City, getting ready for the big Black Friday Heroes game against Nebraska. Do want to give a quick shout out to the hero of the game. It's Perry's principal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Dan Marburger, who was Perry's principal, who was a big Hawkeye fan, you're never going to find a more worthy hero in this game. This is one of those games where you can kind of make fun of the corporate sponsorship and the forced rivalry and all that kind of stuff, and then it all kind of comes together in a moment like this, and it's like, oh, this all really is cool. This is a guy who literally put his life on the line to save his students in a terrible situation.
Man, I have
a
chills.
Hawkeye fan. It's one of those things where I even came out and said, don't nominate people this year. We have our hero. We know who it is. So shout out to Dan Marburger, his family, his friends. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, go Hawks.
Go Hawks. That was a Nebraska fan telling us we did a great job and saying thanks, and Andrew drops the Go Hawks on him.
Hey, I'm in Iowa City. It's game day, baby.
That's right.
But yeah, so shout out to that. Some other things happening tonight. It's senior night over at Kinnick, and it's going to be a long senior session, man. 24 seniors are going to be recognized. Some for a second time. You know, guys like Jay Higgins, and Nick Jackson, Sebastian Castro, who didn't know if they were going to come back and ended up coming back. I just wanted to highlight a couple of those guys, especially Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson. Jay Higgins, a guy who sat behind Jack Campbell for 3 years, knew he was good in a transfer portal era, knew he could play, stayed at Iowa because he wanted to play in this defense, in this system, for this team. And all he has done over the last 2 years is be one of the best linebackers in the country. He's not getting the national recognition that he deserves. He's not a Dick Butkus Award finalist. None of that matters. He led the country in tackles last year. He's a quintessential Hawkeye. It's going to be cool to see him get the kind of love poured on him tonight at Kinnick Stadium.
Quintessential Hawkeye. Now, dad with a great attitude about stuff.
Yeah. Hawk.
They love Iowa. They love the Hawkeyes. Yeah, you know, Andrew, that's a really good point. Like, in that era when it's so easy. In fact, we had other guys. Justin Jacobs was a guy that was a huge talent that was in that linebacking room, went to Oregon and transferred. This young man sat behind Jack Campbell, watched Jack Campbell get all of those accolades that he got, then go on to the NFL. Could have left last year and decided to stick around and come back one more year because he loved being a Hawkeye, from what we were told. Now, you know, were there some other reasons for that? Probably. Sure. Was loving being a Hawkeye a big part of it? Had to be, or he wouldn't have come back to do it.
And Nick Jackson, his kind of counterpart there in the linebacking corps, not a born and bred Hawkeye, had a great full career as a Virginia Cavalier, came though to Iowa to finish his career, and then decided to come back for another year. And again, these two won't become the Hodge and Greenway. They won't get that level of love or legacy, but they have had that level of impact on this program.
I wonder, Nick Jackson, you're right. Just because it's only been a couple years, we didn't know him well enough. Higgins, I think, Andrew, that his story, is he in that Greenway? Is he in the Abdul Hodge era? Not quite, but man, he's nibbling on that conversation.
Right there.
When you're talking,
and you wonder if he had started for 3 or 4 years.
Right. We just had a young man that came up here to say hi to us. When that young man remembers Hawkeye football and great defenses, he's going to remember Jay Higgins.
You're right.
That will be a name to him. Like a tippet to us.
Yes. Also, Sebastian Castro, it's his senior day, another senior day for him. He's going to be a big miss. Was a huge miss in that Michigan State game.
Yeah, he's a miss right now. When he's not on the field, he's a miss right now. We've seen that. That's a big one.
Y.A. Black, another guy who's just been a beast. And again, probably is slightly underrated in our minds for the production he's actually had.
Yeah.
But he'll be a guy we remember for a long time.
I'll always remember Y.A. Black because when he first came to campus, and we were interviewing Gary Dolphin one time, and asked Dolph, give us a name of a guy that we don't know, that our fans don't know, that's really impressing you. And he's like, man, I think I'm saying his name right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something, and I think he might have. But he might have said, I think it's 𝗺𝗍.
I think it's 𝗺𝗍.
He's like, this kid is a stud. So that every time he's made a play, I've thought that.
Another guy who came back and we thought was going to have a huge impact on this team and just hasn't, has had injury issues, but will probably go to the NFL and be a good tight end, 𝗙𝗻𝗄.
Oh, yeah.
Hasn't scored a touchdown this
boy.
year. It'd be great to see him get one tonight in his final game at 𝗀̈nicke Stadium. But 𝗙𝗻𝗄 will be honored tonight as well.
Yeah, Luke is one of those guys whose career, obviously here at Iowa, didn't quite work out to the stats that we were all hoping it was, but he hopefully will go on to have that Sam Laporta, TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle type of splash in the NFL. He's got that talent. It's just injuries during these years have prevented him from being able to do it in a Hawkeye uniform. Hawkeye fans will be rooting for him a lot on Sundays.
And then this will be an interesting one. Cade McNamara will be honored at senior night tonight. I have a report that he's in street clothes, so not going to go tonight. But will certainly be honored. We'll be out there, and I think he'll get.
Did you intentionally use that photo?
Yeah, the no laces. This guy hates the laces as much as Hawkeye fans hate him right now. But I still think he'll get cheers tonight.
His parents might be here. His parents might be.
I don't see any Michigan gear, Ross. I'm kidding.
Wow.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
what the reaction, what 𝗀̈nicke's reaction is to Cade McNamara.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what that'll be, Andrew. I think it will be cheers.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. 𝗀̈nicke Stadium, we'll boo the hell out of Brian Ferentz.
But
we'll boo the team on the field.
The kids not.
But we're not going to boo them when their parents are out there. That's just not the way it's going to go. Everybody's leaving us, Ross.
It's all right.
It's almost game time, baby.
That's all we need. You're all I need, Andrew. You're all I need.
Okay.
Well, and Ed's got my tickets, so I can't.
Ed, stay here, Ed. I want to throw. We're going to wrap up here pretty quick because I know you got to get over to 𝗀̈nicke.
And we want people to pull our last couple winners
too.
So
we need to get the winner barrel wherever that is. But I wanted to give you a couple over-unders here that I just came up with. I just set the lines
fire
for
away.
these. Punts. There were 14 punts in this game last year. Not by Iowa.
That's ridiculous. Which guy? Wait, I would have believed, by the way.
I'm going to set the over-under at punts at 10.5 tonight.
Ooh, that's a really good number on that, Andrew.
Thank you.
I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over on that.
Over 10.5 punts.
Yep. I believe in this Hawkeye defense, and the Hawkeye offense is slow sledding. So, yeah, let's go over.
Total turnovers, 3.5.
I'm going to go under because I had 3 in my head.
Okay.
Yep.
I like that. Field goals by both teams. Total field goals, 2.5.
I'll go over on that.
Over on that.
In fact,
it's gonna be a big kicking night.
I might tease that one up a little bit because I think we're looking at 4 field goal night.
Okay. From both teams?
Hawkeyes with 3. So same thing with turnovers. Hawkeyes are going to get 2 turnovers. Nebraska's going to get 1. Hawkeyes are going to kick 3 field goals to Nebraska's 1.
I like it.
Yeah.
Caleb Johnson touchdowns has already set the season record for the Hawkeyes. Has 21 rushing touchdowns, 22 total. I'm going to set his number tonight at 1.5.
I think that's a good number. I'll go under on that.
You're going to say 1?
Yeah, he gets 1 touchdown.
I think 1 touchdown. Iowa passing yards, 99.5. Under.
Yeah. I was going to say under 100 yards. When you mentioned this earlier, you're like, I got an over-under for you. I was like, it better be under 100 yards. I would, if you had it at 85, I'd take the over.
And then the last one I have, total points. I didn't set this. Vegas did. 39.5. Where are you at here? I could see it going either way, obviously. See if she'll handle that.
It's 39.5, and it's a 3-point spread.
Yeah.
Okay, so Vegas
last
sees
I
this.
Saw, yeah.
Vegas sees this as a 21-18 game. And you're asking me for the total. I think it's under on that, Andrew.
Do you?
Yeah. Even though Hawkeye's offense has been really good this year.
At home, they're scoring 40 points every game.
That's right. This Nebraska defense is. Andrew.
And I mean, if you think Raiola might hit a big one,
but it's cold.
It's cold.
It's cold.
Not a lot of wind, apparently. I guess the wind is supposed to have died down a little bit.
Good.
Yeah. I hope you have some layers out there, Ross.
I got layers,
brother. It's gonna be a cold one. All right, those are some fun over-unders. And then the last thing I wanted to do with you here, Ross, we're gonna give away some more wings. We're gonna give away some tickets to the game as soon as somebody helps us out and gets us the
We just
names.
need the bucket.
We just need the bucket. But there's just some kind of big picture things.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Tim Lester, this is his final regular season game as Iowa's offensive coordinator in his first season. I would say a few games in, it seemed really good. The offense has certainly been better, more dynamic. It hasn't been great. It hasn't been perfect.
Our bucket. Thank you.
It hasn't been great. It hasn't been perfect. But how would you letter grade Tim Lester in his first season as Iowa's offensive coordinator?
That's a great question, and I'm going to go B+.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, it's definitely above average.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Yes.
I was really afraid that what was going to happen was Kirk Ferentz was going to bring his guy in and put that rubber stamp on him and say, now go run my offense. And I don't think that's exactly what has happened.
It doesn't seem
Tim
like
Lester
it.
has had an impact.
Yeah.
It's
Even
been a
the
good
Brendan
impact.
Sullivan goal line package that they launched after the Iowa State game, it was like,
we never would have seen Coach Ferentz come up with. And Brian Ferentz would not have done that.
And no other offensive coordinator had either the balls or the cachet to actually put that into place.
So it hasn't been perfect. It's been really good. I'm going to give it a B+.
I like that. Off-season needs. We talked about this a little bit last week, but you probably need to get another quarterback for depth reasons.
Yeah.
You're going to need to fill some holes, though, defensively.
Yes.
It's more about, as we talked about, quantity over quality, right? You don't need one or two big names. You need 7 or 10 good players.
When you offensive, let's start with offensive line. You're losing 3 or 4. I think you're losing 4 starters on the offensive line.
Yeah.
But you've got a couple of freshmen that are packed in there on that 2 deep that can fill those holes. Running back. I think you're going to be okay with running back. Caleb Johnson goes. You've got Moulton, who was supposed to be the starter, right?
Yep.
And Jazz Patterson to step in there. I don't think quarterback is going to matter. There's no reason to go out there and waste a bunch of money bringing in a quarterback that's going to throw for 80 yards a game. Defensively, Andrew, there's going to be a lot of holes. I mean, you talk about losing Jackson and Higgins and Black and Castro, and that is still the tip of the iceberg of what's going to be gone for these seniors next year. It has to be a focus on defense, because I think that when you look at those offensive weapons, you've got enough coming back that there's no desperate, dire need there. What I love for them to get a 5-star quarterback and get somebody that could actually blow the top off defenses, that'd be great. Of
course.
It ain't happening. No. So focus what this team is going to need. This team is going to need to have a really good defense again next year, and I think that has to be the offseason focus.
Some returning players, assuming Sullivan and Stratton will be back at quarterback, probably need to add some depth there. I don't know about Linez. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Moulton and Jazz Patterson, as you talked about, at running back. Estrenga and some others at tight end. You feel good about the tight end position moving forward. Jacob Gill, Seth Anderson, Reese Vanderzee. I mean, that's a pretty nice little receiving core, right?
Absolutely. That's a good 3.
And so you're right. I think offensively you feel pretty good about where you're going next year. Defensively, you're going to have to fill some of those
holes. And with the line, just like this year with the line, with the injuries, you're going to be moving things around, and it's going to take some time to figure out what your best 5 is next year with that offensive line. I'm sure of that. But the good thing about offensive line is it's the exact same position, or exact opposite position that this defense is in. You're going to be young next year, and you're going to be able to build on that, and that group of freshmen are going to be really good in 2 or 3 years.
All right, let's do some giveaways here, Ross.
Let's do this. So we have
kind of wrap things up.
We have two more.
2 wings and gift cards. Wings for a year, not just wings. Wings for a year and gift cards. We have the game tickets for tonight's game, and we have the cooler.
Holy cow.
I've drawn 4. Now, a lot of people have cleared out of this bar heading over to Kinnick.
Oh, yeah, they are.
So you got a pretty good chance of winning out there.
Yeah, you guys got a good chance here. This is going to be great. All right,
and
here we go.
may just have to draw names until people come.
Yeah, that's fine. Hoot and holler.
Matt Runia is going to get wings and a gift card for a year.
Matt Runia. If you're here, Matt, come up. We've got one set aside for you. Oh, there's Matt. Hey, Matt, congratulations.
Nice job, man.
Okay.
Kevin Prokop. Yeah, Kevin.
Kevin Prokopek.
That's yours.
That's yours, buddy. There's Matt.
And hey, those are good at any Buffalo Wild Wings in Iowa or Nebraska.
Kevin here somewhere? I didn't hear. Somebody's walking over.
Brent Barloon. Oh, we got a Nebraska fan. Hey, go Hawks. Oh, never mind. He's just entering.
Oh, he's entering. Oh, okay.
We'll throw you in there.
All right, let's see. We'll keep those here. We got Kevin.
This will be for the cooler, Dr. Todd Beckman.
Dr. Todd Beckman.
Dr. Todd. And then the tickets go to Brian Bishop. Hey, there's Dr. Todd right there.
There's Dr. Todd. Dr. Todd won him some. He won the cooler.
He won the cooler.
Oh, he's got to take that back
awesome
to his thing.
Bud Light cooler. I bet they'll hold it for him here.
So these folks, we do have their phone numbers, so we're going to reach out to these folks so that
we'll reach out to
Kevin
them.
Prokopek, Andy Keller, and Brian Bishop. He's asking.
I'm sure
what to do with
they'll let
it.
you do that. Yeah. I'm sure they'll let you do that. Yeah. We'll coordinate that.
Brian Bishop. That's our guy with the tickets.
I'll take care of him in just a second. Ross, thank you so much, man.
Andrew,
this has been
thank you so much. I love
this. Thank you to Buffalo Wild Wings, to Bud Light, to Neutral. This has been a lot of fun. Chris Hassel and myself will be back as soon as the game ends, or just before the game ends, depending on how things are going. But we'll be back right here on Iowa Everywhere. Thank you to everybody for helping to put this together. Thank you to Ross Peterson for doing this. Go Hawks, and we'll see y'all later.